I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present.
She stopped being seen by the public. No public events or statements, just silence. Rumors turned into crazy ideas. Was Kate Middleton keeping a secret that was much worse than anyone thought?
One of the main reasons for speaking out was I didn't feel like I would be accepted for having depression. I didn't understand it myself. There was still a stigma in myself.
While everyone else was guessing, a terrible diagnosis, a family under a lot of stress, and a brother facing his own mental health issues were all part of a secret truth that was coming out. What did the Princess of Wales really go through? And how did her closest friends and family help her get through it? What's coming up changes everything. In late 2023, something unusual began to unfold within the British royal family. Unusual not because of a public scandal, a political debate, or a high-profile fallout, but because of someone's absence. Kate Middleton, now Catherine, Princess of Wales, suddenly disappeared from the public spotlight. For someone so central to the royal family's image, her vanishing act didn't go unnoticed. Her calendar, normally full of royal engagements, charity appearances, and state responsibilities, had gone quiet. At first, the explanation from Kensington Palace was simple. She had undergone abdominal surgery, they said, and would be recovering in private. The tone was calm, understated, and offered no cause for concern. That's standard protocol in royal communications. Say little, stay vague, and let time pass. But as the days turned into weeks, and then into months, the silence started to feel louder than any official statement. People began to ask questions, not just in media circles, but across social media, among royal fans, and in mainstream conversation. For someone like Kate, who is routinely seen at schools, public charities, and international tours, being out of view for so long was striking. The last time she had been publicly seen was on Christmas Day 2023, attending a traditional holiday church service with her family. After that, nothing. No photos, no appearances, and no footage. Even paparazzi, usually relentless in tracking the royals, came up empty-handed. The palace insisted that everything was under control, but it didn't take long for rumors to take hold. Theories ranged from mild to completely outlandish. Some said she was simply resting and focusing on her family. Others speculated about more serious medical concerns, strained family relationships, or even cosmetic surgery. A few of the more extreme claims suggested an intentional cover-up. Without new information, the public's imagination filled the gaps, and the media followed suit. Tabloid headlines asked, "Where is Kate? And what aren't they telling us?" The absence of facts created a storm of speculation. On January 17, 2024, the palace issued an update confirming Kate had been admitted to the hospital for a planned abdominal procedure. They stressed it was not cancer-related and that she would likely resume public duties by Easter. Even with this statement, skepticism lingered. As time passed with no sightings, concern only grew. Public trust began to erode, not because people were suspicious of Kate herself, but because the silence felt out of step with the modern expectation for transparency. By February, the situation was being described in the press as a mystery. Prince William canceled a few public appearances, citing personal matters, which only intensified public anxiety. Even as other members of the royal family continued with their duties, the gap left by Kate's absence felt increasingly pronounced. Commentators began debating whether the royal family was handling the situation properly, with some arguing that withholding information only fuels speculation and damages public confidence. Everything changed in late March. On March 22, 2024, Kate released a video message that brought the speculation to an immediate halt. Sitting calmly in a garden setting, dressed in a soft blue jumper, she looked composed but noticeably different. Slightly thinner, a little more fragile. Her tone was gentle but clear as she addressed the public directly. She revealed that during the post-operative period following her abdominal surgery, doctors had discovered cancer. She was undergoing preventative chemotherapy. The announcement was both shocking and heartbreaking. It was the first time in years that a senior royal had disclosed such a serious personal health matter in this way, directly, without filters, and in her own voice. Kate thanked the medical team who had cared for her, expressed gratitude for the support of her family, and asked for privacy while she continued treatment. She also explained that the diagnosis had come as a surprise and that her focus had been on explaining it to her children and beginning her recovery. Her words immediately changed the tone of the conversation. What had once been dominated by theories and gossip was now replaced by compassion and concern. The public responded with messages of support, many expressing admiration for her strength and openness. Hashtags like Kate Strong and We Love You, Kate began trending online. Messages poured in not only from fans, but from cancer survivors, healthcare workers, and celebrities who had faced similar battles. Kate's video struck a particularly strong chord because of how human it was. There was no royal pomp, no elaborate setup. It was just her, speaking honestly, acknowledging the struggle, and asking for space to heal. It reminded people that beyond the titles and traditions, Kate is also a mother, a wife, a sister, and a woman facing a life-altering diagnosis. That authenticity resonated in a way that few royal communications ever have. Her absence suddenly made sense. The secrecy wasn't about deception. It was about privacy during an incredibly vulnerable period. It was about protecting her children from the media frenzy. It was about allowing her body time to recover without public pressure. In a world that demands constant access to public figures, Kate's quiet withdrawal was a reminder that everyone, no matter how public their life may be, deserves time to process something as serious as a cancer diagnosis. From that point forward, updates from the palace became slightly more transparent, though still measured. They confirmed she was continuing treatment and responding well. Prince William resumed more regular appearances, but always within close reach of home. Reports indicated that the family had restructured their schedules to ensure Kate had the support she needed, both emotionally and practically. Her parents and siblings, especially her brother James, played active roles behind the scenes, a topic we'll explore in the next part of this story. Then, in June 2024, Kate returned to the public eye for the first time since the announcement. It was at Trooping the Color, the annual celebration of the monarch's official birthday. Dressed in a white outfit and appearing on the Buckingham Palace balcony with her family, she looked composed and elegant. But those paying close attention noticed subtle differences. Her hair appeared darker and more styled than usual, leading to speculation that she might have been wearing a wig, likely due to chemotherapy-related hair loss. Later, it was confirmed by stylists close to the family that Kate had indeed chosen to wear a wig for the occasion. Her look had been carefully prepared to ensure she felt confident re-entering the public spotlight. And it worked. The event served as a powerful moment of reassurance. Not only was Kate still standing, she was standing tall. What made this return so significant wasn't just the symbolism, it was the message. She didn't come back with a grand speech or promises of a full schedule. Her appearance alone said enough. It signaled strength, continuity, and a steady hand during uncertain times. It reminded people of her quiet resilience and of the role she plays not just as a royal figure, but as a source of inspiration. The Middleton family has long been known for their closeness. Unlike some aristocratic households known for emotional distance and tradition-bound parenting, the Middletons cultivated something different. Michael and Carol Middleton raised their 3 children, Kate, Pippa, and James, in a home rooted in stability, affection, and shared values. That bond didn't dissolve when Kate married into the royal family. If anything, it grew stronger under pressure. Carol Middleton, Kate's mother, is often seen as the glue of the family. She's described by friends and insiders as calm, organized, and fiercely protective of her children. A former flight attendant who co-founded the successful party supply business Party Pieces, Carol transitioned from modest beginnings to building a financially stable life for her family through hard work and innovation. Those values didn't just shape her parenting, they shaped how she responded when Kate's health crisis came to light. When Kate began treatment following her cancer diagnosis, Carol reportedly stepped in quietly but decisively. She helped manage daily routines, assisted with the children's needs, and ensured that Kate had space and time to rest. At a time when logistics, medical appointments, and the emotional weight of illness could easily overwhelm anyone, Carol's steady presence provided structure. She took on responsibilities that would allow Kate to focus entirely on recovery. Michael Middleton, though more reserved publicly, has also played a supportive role. His steady, understated demeanor has always served as a contrast to the high-pressure royal world his eldest daughter entered. Those who know the family say that Michael brings quiet reassurance, someone who prefers to listen more than speak, but offers unwavering loyalty. During Kate's recovery, he too was a source of comfort, offering a calm presence that often says more than words can. Kate's sister Pippa, now Pippa Matthews after marrying hedge fund manager James Matthews, has also been by her side. Though Pippa lives a relatively private life away from royal engagements, she has always been close to Kate. The two have often been described as more like best friends than just sisters. They've supported each other through university, weddings, pregnancies, and public attention. During Kate's health struggles, Pippa reportedly visited often, providing both emotional support and practical help. But perhaps the most emotionally significant support came from Kate's younger brother, James Middleton. James has publicly spoken about his battle with clinical depression, and he knows firsthand what it feels like to go through something difficult while the world carries on as if nothing is wrong. His past struggles gave him a unique perspective and a deep empathy for what Kate was enduring. When Kate's illness became known to the public, James didn't make any grand statements. That's not his style. But sources close to the family said he was a near constant presence. Whether through regular visits, quiet check-ins, or simply being available, James showed up for his sister in the way he knew mattered most, not as a public figure, but as family. James's wife, Alize Thevenet, was also reportedly part of the family's quiet circle of support. The couple live in Berkshire, not far from Kate and William's country home, and they are known for enjoying a low-key lifestyle with their dogs and a love for nature. That proximity and lifestyle made it easier for them to spend time with Kate without attracting attention, offering her emotional refuge away from the formality of royal duties. Inside Kensington Palace and other royal residences, adjustments were made to accommodate Kate's recovery. Prince William, balancing his public role with the responsibility of caring for his wife and children, reportedly scaled back his own schedule. The couple's 3 children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, were kept in a normal routine as much as possible, protected from the intensity of media speculation. Kate has always placed high importance on giving her children a grounded upbringing, and during this period, that goal became even more important. With the help of her family, Kate was able to shield her children from much of what was going on. The Middletons worked together to ensure that daily life continued smoothly, even as Kate faced treatment, medical appointments, and physical recovery. For any family, managing life during illness is difficult. For a family constantly under the spotlight, it's even more complex. But with a combination of emotional closeness, practical help, and loyalty, the Middletons maintained a sense of privacy and protection. Royal sources have often commented on how different the Middleton dynamic is compared to traditional royal families. They're close, communicative, and protective of each other in a way that feels familiar to many everyday families. There's no sense of distance or hierarchy in their relationships. That closeness became especially clear during Kate's illness, where it wasn't about who was royal or who wasn't. It was about being there, quietly and consistently. Even Prince William, who carries the weight of his royal responsibilities and the expectations that come with being future king, leaned heavily on the Middleton family during this time. His bond with Carol and Michael has always been warm. He's spoken of them as like a second family, appreciating the normalcy and support they've provided throughout his relationship with Kate. That connection became even more meaningful during this chapter. Together, this unit, Middletons and Windsors alike, rallied around Kate. But what stood out most was the tone of their support. There were no grand gestures or public displays. Everything was done privately, with intention and care. It was the kind of support that doesn't make headlines, but makes all the difference behind closed doors. In the broader context of the royal family's public image, this period highlighted something deeper. Yes, there were titles, palaces, and traditions, but beneath all of that was a very ordinary need, the need for family, for support, for quiet spaces to heal. Kate's experience reminded many that resilience isn't built in isolation. It's built in connection, with the people who know you best and who love you not because of who you are in public, but who you are at home. As she gradually re-enters public life, that network of support remains firmly in place. Her family continues to provide a buffer from the demands of royal duty. And if this chapter has shown anything, it's that Kate isn't facing it alone. She is surrounded by people who show up, not for cameras, not for headlines, but because they care. James's story begins long before his mental health crisis. Born in 1987, the youngest of the three Middleton children, he grew up in a supportive and encouraging environment. Like Kate and Pippa, he was raised with a strong work ethic and a deep sense of family values. He followed a similar educational path to his siblings, attending St. Andrew's School in Pangbourne and later Marlborough College. But unlike Kate, who took a more traditional academic career and sociopath that eventually led to the royal family, James's interests were more unconventional. He was entrepreneurial from a young age. His creative instincts led him to explore business ventures that were unique and personal, including Boomf, a personalized gifting company known for printing messages and images on marshmallows. It may have seemed like a quirky business idea to outsiders, but for James, it was a reflection of his imagination and a desire to bring joy to others. He also became known for his love of animals, particularly dogs. His connection to animals wasn't just a hobby, it was a key part of his emotional well-being. But behind the creativity and the public image of a fun-loving businessman, James was facing something much darker. In 2019, he shared that he had been battling clinical depression for several years. His openness was raw and honest. He explained that it wasn't just about feeling sad, it was about feeling nothing at all. He described the experience as a kind of emotional shutdown, where everything lost meaning. Tasks that once felt easy became overwhelming. Even getting out of bed or answering a simple email felt impossible. James said that at his lowest point, he felt completely disconnected from life. He described it as living in a fog, where colors seemed muted and joy was entirely absent. This wasn't the kind of sadness that could be cured by rest or distraction. It was a deep, persistent numbness. He explained that while he appeared fine on the outside, inside he felt like he was crumbling. He didn't have the words to explain it to others, and often withdrew into himself, convinced that nobody could really understand what he was going through. This silence, he said, was one of the most dangerous parts of depression. Like many people, especially men, he felt ashamed of admitting he was struggling. There's still a cultural expectation in many places that men should be strong, stoic, and unemotional. Breaking that expectation can feel like weakness, even though the opposite is true. For James, the idea of talking about his mental health was terrifying. But eventually, the pressure became too much to carry alone. His decision to seek help marked a turning point. He began therapy and also turned to medication. But what made the biggest difference, he said, was the support of his family, particularly Kate. Although she was balancing an incredibly demanding life as a senior royal and mother of three, Kate was a constant in James's journey. He didn't need her to fix everything, he just needed her to be there. And she was. Kate's support came in the form of presence. She checked in, listened without judgment, and never made him feel like a burden. That kind of unconditional support is powerful, especially when it comes from someone who is under pressure themselves. James has said that knowing his sister understood him, even when he couldn't articulate his feelings, helped him begin to heal. Their connection isn't just rooted in shared childhood memories, It's based on trust, respect, and a kind of emotional shorthand that only siblings who are truly close can share. James said that when he was struggling to explain how he felt, Kate didn't push him. She didn't offer cliches or quick fixes. She just created space for him to feel safe. That support wasn't just private. Around the same time James was speaking publicly about mental health, Kate was also intensifying her efforts in that area through her royal work. Alongside Prince William and Prince Harry, she launched Heads Together, a campaign aimed at breaking the stigma surrounding mental illness and encouraging people to speak openly. Her involvement in the initiative wasn't just symbolic, it was personal. Kate has often spoken about the importance of early intervention and creating environments where people, especially children, can talk about their feelings without fear. Her work with mental health charities, school programs, and family support organizations has shown a consistent focus on emotional well-being. Many of these initiatives were already underway, but her brother's experience no doubt gave them deeper meaning. James has credited his recovery to a combination of professional treatment, family support, and the healing power of animals. His dogs, in particular, became lifelines. He's spoken about how walking them, caring for them, and just being near them helped him reconnect with the world. He even started a business called Ella & Kobe, focused on dog nutrition, named after one of his beloved pets. Animals gave him routine, responsibility, and a kind of silent companionship that felt safe. As he continued to heal, James began to use his platform to encourage others. He wrote openly about his experiences, took part in mental health discussions, and became an advocate for seeking help. His vulnerability made a difference, particularly for men who had never felt they had permission to speak about their own mental health. Today, James lives a quieter life in the countryside with his wife, Alize, and their dogs. He's stepped back from the media and business spotlight, but remains active in mental health awareness. His relationship with Kate remains strong, and their bond has become a quiet symbol of the power of sibling support. When Kate faced her own health crisis years later, that support went both ways. James, having once been on the receiving end of Kate's care, became one of the people she could rely on. Their shared understanding of vulnerability, recovery, and resilience gave them a unique connection. It wasn't about comparing challenges. It was about knowing what it means to feel broken and what it takes to rebuild. Their story is one of mutual support, quiet strength, and enduring love. In a world where public figures are often expected to be flawless, James and Kate remind us that real strength comes from facing what's difficult and not doing it alone. To understand the dynamic between them, it helps to go back to where it all started. The Middleton family home in Berkshire was far removed from palaces or press attention. Their parents, Carol and Michael Middleton, may have eventually built a successful family business, but they came from modest beginnings. Carol was once a flight attendant. Michael worked as a flight dispatcher. Together they created Party Pieces, a mail-order party supply company that gave them financial stability and the means to offer their children opportunities they hadn't had growing up. Family was always the center of their lives. The children, Kate, Pippa, and James, were brought up in a household where values like kindness, discipline, and loyalty were just as important as academic success or future ambitions. Weekends were often spent outdoors, walking dogs, taking part in sports, or gathering for family meals. There was a strong sense of togetherness, and that carried through into their teenage and adult years. Kate, the eldest, was known from early on for being calm, organized, and responsible. She naturally took on a protective role, not just because she was the oldest, but because that's simply how she operated. Pippa, close in age to Kate, had a vibrant, confident personality, and James, the youngest by several years, was more reserved, but no less loved. Being the youngest in a close-knit family came with its challenges and privileges. While he received guidance and care from his older sisters, James also had the space to find his own voice, something he would later do through his creative business ventures and his openness about mental health. As the Middleton children grew up and moved into their own paths, they remained anchored to each other. Kate's transition into royal life was, by any measure, enormous. When she began dating Prince William during their time at the University of St. Andrews, it wasn't just a personal decision. It came with consequences for her entire family. The British press was relentless in its interest, not just in Kate, but in everyone connected to her. The Middletons were suddenly thrust into the public eye, with every move analyzed, every word scrutinized. For James, this wasn't an easy adjustment. He was still very young when Kate's relationship with Prince William became serious, and he's spoken publicly about how difficult it was to have his private life suddenly become public property. Unlike his sister, he had not chosen that spotlight. At times, he struggled with the pressure of it. But even during those moments, the bond between him and Kate remained steady. She never tried to push him into the limelight, and she never used her position to shape his life. Instead, she remained quietly supportive, always a phone call away, always available when needed. What makes their relationship so unique is that it has consistently balanced public distance with private closeness. The two aren't seen together constantly. They don't frequently speak about each other in interviews or post photographs on social media. But when it matters most, they are there for one another. When James opened up about his depression, he didn't do it to gain sympathy or attention. He did it because he felt that others might benefit from hearing the truth. And when he did, Kate was quietly standing behind him, offering encouragement every step of the way. In turn, when Kate was diagnosed with cancer and chose to share her condition with the world, James was among the first to support her, privately, and in his own way, publicly. He didn't make grand statements or try to center himself in the story. But his actions, being physically present, managing family responsibilities behind the scenes, and simply showing up, made a significant difference. He knew exactly how it felt to be emotionally vulnerable, to face something overwhelming, and to lean on family when you couldn't stand alone. Their connection also speaks to a deeper truth about resilience. It's not just about individual strength. It's about having the right people around you when things fall apart. Kate and James have both faced their share of public pressure, emotional hardship, and personal doubt. What's allowed them to cope hasn't just been status, resources, or appearances. It's been each other. The comfort of knowing someone truly understands what you're going through can't be underestimated. That shared understanding comes, in part, from their upbringing. The Middleton household valued emotional openness long before it became a topic of public discussion. The children were encouraged to talk about their feelings, to listen, and to care for one another. That early foundation became the groundwork for how they support each other now as adults. Whether facing mental illness or physical health challenges, the tools they developed early on, compassion, communication, and presence, have stayed with them. James once said in an interview that his family saved his life. He didn't mean it metaphorically. He meant that during the darkest points of his depression, it was the people around him who helped pull him through. That kind of loyalty doesn't fade over time, it only strengthens. When Kate went through her health crisis, that loyalty was returned, fully and unconditionally. It's easy to forget that behind every public figure is a private world. Behind every carefully posed photo, every public speech, and every royal duty, there are quiet moments at home, phone calls late at night, and ordinary conversations between siblings who know each other far better than the public ever will. For Kate and James, those quiet moments are what matter most. Their relationship doesn't need validation from headlines or social media. It is rooted in something far more enduring: family. In recent years, as the royals have increasingly prioritized mental health awareness and well-being, the stories of people like James have added much-needed depth to the public conversation. They remind us that titles don't protect people from struggle, that having a platform doesn't mean you're immune to pain, and that the most meaningful support often happens away from the spotlight. Today, Kate and James remain symbols not just of strength, but of support. Their story shows us that vulnerability isn't weakness, that healing is often a team effort, and that behind the image of public figures lie real people, leaning on each other in times of need. Their bond is proof that no matter how different life's paths become, the thread of family can remain unbroken. As Kate continues her journey through recovery and James continues to advocate for mental health, their stories remain deeply intertwined. It's not a perfect story or a fairy tale. It's a story of real people facing real challenges, with compassion and loyalty at the center of it all.